One of the jobs as a solutions engineer is to keep up with all the announcements that your company makes. And I have to say, being at Verkada, that tends to happen once every couple of months. So in the next video, I'll talk briefly about all the exciting things that have been unveiled at our first industry conference we called Verkada ONE. Some of these topics I'll explore in more detail in further videos, but if you have any questions in the meantime, don't forget to leave them as a comment. So let's start with the cameras because we have a bunch of changes there. First of all, we announced two new hardware products. The CM42, which takes the whole Mini family into the next generation. So you have new Umbrella chipsets, you have the ability to do all the advanced analytics on them as you would on a CD2 series or a CB2 series, and a new imaging sensor, giving it a much better quality in low light. Very importantly is that we're actually moving away from using magnets, because we found that some people are quite reluctant to place these cameras, as anybody could just go and rip them off the wall, and now we will be using the regular screws to make sure that the camera cannot be tampered with. Secondly, for those of you who are actually looking for a budget camera, you don't want a multi-sensor, a fisheye, zoom, license plate recognition, etc., but you still want something that connects to the cloud and still allows you to do the regular analytics, well, now you have an option, and that's called the CD32. It has the same functionality and form factor as the CD42, including a fixed lens, but it will only have 3 megapixels instead of 5, nonetheless resulting in a cost save of about $200. That is list price. From a software perspective, we do have a lot of changes, and none of them are more obvious than the new motion search capability. And this relates directly to the way that the camera understands that there is a person in front of it. We made it very obvious because now when you click on a camera, that's the first thing that you see. It's a motion search with the people filter turned on, and you'll get clips where every person has been spotted. We make it so obvious that you'll see the bounding box drawn around each person, something that you might have seen if you're using or tested occupancy trends. With the new motion search algorithm, the system will be able to pick up persons that are further away, and also will get rid of a lot of the duplicates, because we're actually using a brand new technology to do this process and not rely on thumbnails as before. These things are called tracklets and are a way to track objects, including people and vehicles, as they enter and exit the frame. And the product team has interestingly made the decision to show you the tracklet itself. So now when you look at the video, you not only see the person in the bounding box, but also the path, their trajectory as they entered and exited the frame. With this, we're also announcing the adoption of H.265, something that a lot of people are asking me, but technically impossible, as most browsers did not support it up until recently. And as a business, for us, we always wanted to make sure that you can benefit from Verkada no matter where you are, no matter what device you're using, and we didn't want to force people to use a certain application just for H.265. The good news about this is that now Chrome and Chrome-based browsers are able to display H.265, and you will have it as an option for your cameras. So especially in busy environments, think about detailed carpets, loads of movement, you'll definitely see improvements that will tackle the resulting pixelation. And for those of you technically minded, you'll probably think about H.265 as something that saves bandwidth. Well, we have taken the decision to keep the same bandwidth for our cameras, the same constant bandwidth that you're used to, and instead translate those savings as added quality to those streams. And if you're asking yourself, hey, my browser doesn't support this, my device doesn't support this, because there is also a hardware component, older devices will not be able to decode H.265, we will be able to spot that automatically and use what's called transcoding in the cloud to make sure that you will be able to play a stream even if your device is not H.265 compatible. A couple of other small changes. One of them is the addition of static IP addressing capability. So for those of you who are in a position of not having a DHCP server, you're now able to code static IP addresses. You'll still need DHCP initially to provision the camera, register it to the cloud, and push the static IP itself. But once you take the cable out, you reboot the camera and you plug it in back again, the camera will then try to use its static IP address. And if for a reason you made a mistake and you put the wrong IP address, the camera would know, hey, I can't connect to the cloud anymore, I'll go back to DHCP. So we have a fallback mechanism just in case by mistake you locked yourself out. Last but not least, for those of you who are concerned about the amount of bandwidth that a site consumes from a Verkada perspective, you'll be able to control that. We call that the Enterprise Bandwidth Manager, and that is the capability of you to define an upper limit, and the cloud itself will make sure that any streams that go beyond that will automatically be brought down. And this happens because the cloud and the backend has visibility in exactly how much bandwidth each device consumes, and will be able to aggregate them and stop them from overly sharing information and creating a negative impact for all the other applications and users at that particular location.